I remember them debating, like, do we, because they two sweeted each other just around the dojo for years. And they're like, we're going to look like marks if we do that. And I remember Ferg being like, fuck them if they think we're fucking marks. We'll get it over again. And then we all, started doing it and fucking got over again.
Rewind, recap, relive. For over 50 episodes, the revolutionary force in wrestling interview.
So I'd love to go to Doc now, because you mentioned earlier with Bullet Club and New Japan, you were really one of the founding members of that when the stable was first forming. Can we hear about how that felt for you going to Japan?
Yeah.
I know you said it was a career changing. Yeah, let's hear it.
It was, man. Those are guys that I didn't know. Like, I knew Tama Tonga is the son of Haku, and I knew that I loved Haku, and then him as Ming in WCW. I knew KARL Anderson, conversation here and there, seen him on a couple of things, knew we kind of shared the same sense of humor. Didn't know him, didn't know Bad Luck Fale at all, didn't know Finn Balor at all. And I get there, and I was excited. I left TNA, and I was pissed off because they said they released me, but what happened was I had a year contract with a 1-year extension with a raise, and they go, we're going to do the extension, we're going to break up aces and eights, we want to give you, like, this was Hogan telling me this, so I'm like going, fuck, this is great, we want to give you this babyface run, whatever. Well, sadly, Hulk wasn't on the business side, he was just on the creative side, and the Bob Ryder called me from travel and was like, we're going to extend it, and I go, great, well, like, the check's going to change to the other number, right? And he goes, no, there's no more money, but we're going to extend it. And I said, that's not how a contract with a fucking option works. Excuse me. And we had some words, and God rest his soul, we got over that years later, whatever. And I left, but then they said they released me, and I was pissed. So I was like, I want to go and stand out. I don't want to be just some ex-WWE flunky, whatever. And I got there the first night. And Carl tells the story now, and it's hilarious because we're so close. But he was about to get a big singles run. So him and D'Amore are talking to him about me, going, hey, this big guy, we think he can go. They showed him something I did in TNA or whatever. And Hattori goes, hey, man, that guy bigger than you, but looks like you. Maybe tag team. And he said, he was like, fuck that guy. I want my singles run. But we get there, and it's the first night of Tag League. Of course, they put us together. We went out. We had a hell of a match, and we got to the back, and we were, doing what you do. Thanks, bro. Like, hey, I love that. I hope you liked it, whatever. And he goes, you like beer? And I go, oh, I love beer. And he goes, you like Mexican food? I go, I also love Mexican food. He's like, you want to go to my sponsor? And about 90 minutes into smashing steak tacos and Japanese beers, we had like that Step Brothers, did we just become best friends moment? And we've been attached at the hip in business, personal, everything else ever since. But with those guys and being there at the beginning of it, it felt like it was on the cusp of something really special. I remember them debating, like, because they two sweeted each other just around the dojo for years. And they're like, we're going to look like marks if we do that. And I remember Ferg being like, fuck them if they think we're fucking marks. We'll get it over again. And then we all started doing it and fucking got over again. But
really did.
Carl and Tama and Fale and I did every single tour together the whole time I was there. A lot like AJ, when he came, he'd come in for the big shows and go back out. The Bucks were doing all that PWG and crazy indies, so they'd come in and go back out. But we did every single tour. There were like 2 years in a row when I was in Japan 35 weeks a year. So, I mean, I knew those guys better than my wife, and I'd seen them more than my kid. And, like, we did everything together. We got the Core 4, corny-ass tattoo on us because we were just all the time together, so much. And I got I got a lot of friends in the business. I'm really lucky about that. And I'm, an outgoing dude, and I like to have a good time. So everybody kind of knows me and has a Gallows story if you've been around me. But we were like, I'm still to this day closer with those guys than probably anybody else in the whole business.
Rewind, recap, relive. For over 50 episodes, the revolutionary force in wrestling interview.